second.
This is the BAM Podcast with Malcolm Springer.
The BAM Podcast is brought to you by Huck Hats. Huck Hats are individually created and never duplicated. Huck Hats are custom, high-quality hats made in Franklin, Tennessee. Go to huckhats.com. For a discount on Huck Hats, type in the code 10, and that way he'll give you 10% discount from hearing that on our podcast. Good. So hey, there's a ton of questions I got for you, just, because...
I got plenty of answers, and if I don't, I'll make something up. That's what I do with my artists most of the time.
So, we are the Bigfoot Alien Podcast, but we're going to talk about your career and what's been going on with you. And,
we can talk about anything you want.
Your fight with cancer.
Yeah, that was fun.
And all that good stuff. And so, how was it managing Creed?
Man, I will tell you.
How was it?
It was a great big pain in the ass. No, it was. But, anything's cool if you're financially incentivized properly, which I was. But it literally was the craziest time in my life. And if I had 9 lives, it'd still be the craziest.
I bet. I remember going to the office and it just being a nut house.
It was a nut house. And the tour was a nut house. And on stage, it was a nut house. There's nowhere it wasn't a nut. I will say we had a very professional crew, great crew. The band was, for the most part, normal.
Well, I've always wanted to ask you this. So this was a story I got from somebody. I'm not going to say who because I don't want to call him out, because it was one of those nights, a really famous fella. At his house, we were drinking, and he was saying that this is the story, the Creed story, that Bill McGathy, that you had sent Bill McGathy the CD, and it was sitting on his desk.
Yep, that's true.
And that article had just come out in Billboard that. It wasn't Billboard. Well, yeah, it was Billboard. On the front of Billboard, it said the independent radio promoter is dead, and that Bill McGathy was the radio.
Yeah.
And so he goes, hey, talking to his receptionist, hey, what's that label your husband's starting now? That's what I was told. And then, hey, I got a band here, and he looked down, and Creed was sitting right on his desk, and you'd been calling the far out of him, and trying to get him to to push it, and then that's how Wind Up started.
Well, it's essentially that story.
Really?
I mean, that's a part of it.
And then Bill McGathy went, well, you know what? Okay, so the independent radio
listen, Bill, I was talking to Bill the whole time. Bill had helped me spread Creed from Tallahassee down to Tampa at a Clear Channel station, Miami at a Clear Channel station. Labels were like, oh, that's your backyard, looking for some bullcrap reason not to want to sign the band. So they're like, oh, you're just a local band. So we sold a gazillion CDs there. Oh, you're just a local band, so we went to Gainesville. Oh, well, Gainesville sucks, so not going to sign your band. So get it on the number 1 in Tampa. Number 1 in Miami. And they're still saying, oh, that's basically your home market. All those guys know each other. So I called Bill and said, listen to this bullshit. So he got it on with, I think, Keith Hastings and Minnesota. There were no excuses then because we immediately went number 1 there. Yeah, then we went number 1 in Cincinnati. So everywhere we went, we were number 1, but the labels still didn't want to sign it.
But why? But why? I don't understand.
Don't ask me. Oh, they sound like Pearl Jam. That was what we got a lot of. Grunge is dead.
Well, they got kind of thrown back in her face, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
40 million records later.
Yeah. That Bill story is true because Bill, he was essentially, in a lot of ways, like my co-manager, but he mentored me through that whole time because he kept saying, man, you're like the Beatles manager. You're the new Brian Epstein. He'd tell me that every day.
Right.
And shit, I believed it. Why did I know any different? So
Right.
things just, they blew up, and they blew up really, really quick.
Right.
And it is true. Actually, Wind Up wasn't Wind Up. They were called Grass Records. And they had 2 bands or 3 bands, Commander Cody, Commander Venus or something, and Teddy Pendergrass and Dr. John. That was their label.
Teddy Pendergrass.
Yeah. So it was 4 of them with these these 4 bands. I didn't know any of them. So then Creed came along, and we were like, that's the worst name ever. Can we not be on Grass Records? And they're like, all right, we'll change it to Wind Up. Because, we're just where you guys wound up. I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. So,
Wow.
So they became Wind Up. They did hire a bunch of people. They grew, signed more bands. So they weren't just a one-trick pony. They actually did a great job.
So I wanted to ask you about another band too. How was Sevendust to manage?
Oh my God!
I mean, did you really like managing them, or?
You know what? I like the guys individually and collectively, but as a organization, it was more than a headache.
Really?
I'll say that. But you know what?
Was there?
You know what you're getting into when you manage bands, and when you manage a band that's just always been on the road. I thought I could make a big difference in their career, and I think I did, because I brought in Butch Walker to produce that record that they're out celebrating now. It's like the 20th anniversary of Animosity. And that became, I think, probably known as their
best record they ever made.
Yeah, their best record. And I feel like it's because J.J. French didn't produce that one.
Right.
And they didn't produce that one themselves. And I told them, it's a big deal. Let's get somebody who's actually a songwriter. Instead of just writing the same old Sevendust song, which is a lot of what they have.
Right.
I convinced them to use somebody like Butch Walker, and they did, and it showed. And
Butch is
so
awesome.
I feel like I left my mark, at least.
Yeah, I think that was the best record they've ever made, for sure.
Hey, and we got on we were on TV with Jay Leno.
Right. Wow.
That was cool. I mean, feel like things were going someplace with that, but it was hard to get paid. That's the truth.
Sevendust is a band that was built upon the back of their fans, and it really was. It was built upon, and their fans is what they leaned on and what they still lean on, and I think that's awesome. I mean, there's a lot of bands like that.
You know what? They were one of those bands also, though.
Well, there's not a lot of bands like that.
Stuck in a horrible production deal.
Oh, really?
So all of their early records, I mean, they never saw a cent.
What?
So that's a band that the only money they ever made was once they started doing the VIP stuff after shows, because, a lot of these tours just break even. They're not selling any records. That part of the business is pretty much dead. So now, they've been around so long, people want to know them. They're really good with their fans. So they, do the VIP thing, come hang out with us, and they make their fans feel good, and they hang out and party with their fans or whatever. And I think they can actually put some money in their pocket now, which is cool.
That is cool, man. That's good to hear, because I know that Clint. I don't know him great, but I helped his little brother get a record deal. Dustin to Roadrunner, and those were kind of dark times for me.
Well, his other brother's the guitar player in Seether now.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. That's a musical family. They're a bunch of crazy drinking, fighting Indians too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't want to get in a fight with Lowry's. I can promise you that.
There's some big old muscled up sons of bitches too.
There's probably some knives somewhere too.
They are some big old muscled up sons of bitches.
Yeah, they're good people, man. You want them on your side, I tell you that.
Yeah, I really enjoy working with Dustin. He's a good kid. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but back then. But so you still live in Orlando?
Yep, love it.
Do you?
Coach baseball most of the time.
When I said something to Tiffany about you managing me, and one of these days, so I said, you never know. I may have to move down there, move down to Orlando.
What did she think about that?
Oh, that sounded great to her, but my thing is I just don't. the schools here are so good with the kids, man. I hate to move them. Brentley, he's in football now, and and he loves it. He loves it, man. He don't like basketball, don't like nothing else. He's not like my other two. No, oldest son, he was a rugby player. Football players are a bunch of wussies. They
Compared to a rugby player, they are. Go on the internet and look up rugby's greatest hits, and you'll see that rugby players ain't no joke. My recently deceased brother-in-law was a semi-pro rugby player,
really,
in England. And dude, when he would get the ball and start running, they did that side tackle. They step out of the way and stick their two hands out like they're giving somebody five. And he just ran right through them all every time. He's crazy, that guy.
So you're retired now?
Essentially. I mean, I had that crazy cancer battle, and nobody was sure I was going to make it or not. I mean, people were saying I was dead or dying or almost dead. And if you saw a picture of me, I weighed 150-something pounds with a great big-ass head, so I looked like a Q-tip. And there was some photos going around of me in the hospital bed, and I was cut from my Adam's apple back to the side of my head and had like 30 lymph nodes removed, and a bunch of them had cancer. It was nasty stuff. But I survived. Thank you. Mostly, I chalk it up to I had a prayer chain going of a bunch of little kids. I coached. So far, I've coached over 1,000 kids in Orlando. Baseball, football, basketball, mostly baseball though. And a bunch of my baseball kids got together, and I knew them from church as well. And at the time, I was working my way towards being a deacon in the church. I was really into my spiritual life. And these kids found out about it, and somehow or another, they started notifying other kids. And all over the country, there were these children like getting on group chats and stuff, praying for me all the time.
Wow, that's awesome.
And, I don't see how the Lord would take you if you got 1,000 kids there waving their hands, asking them not to. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, also, too, I think, though, it wasn't your time. It was time to...
Yeah,
you still got more work to do.
I got 3 kids in college. I have 5 kids total. 3 of them were adopted. And I remember when I was first sick, one of my doctors said, Jeff, you adopted 3 kids, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, you're not going to die. He goes, you'll be here. He goes, God doesn't take people like that. And he was right. Yeah. And doctors aren't typically known to be Christians. They're usually very
scientific.
Yeah, scientific-minded people.
Isn't that sad, though? That's the category.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like science and God all come together. Which,
Hey, you know what? There's I was watching 60 Minutes a few years ago, and there's been this huge transformation in academia around the world of very academic people that were studying to try to discredit God and ended up becoming Christians. Based on their studies, because there is a lot of evidence for it. And you know what, though? It's a religion's a choice. I just don't see how it's bad or how people can talk bad or look down on other people that have something positive to believe in. Now, I know there's people that are fake and aren't positive, and it's all a show. But for the most part, if you choose to believe in God, you're making a choice to try to have some positivity in your life.
So So I know you're a Christian. I am too. But it's funny because we talk on here. We had Eric Baker on here about the inverse matrix. I don't really understand that. Sorry about that. But anyway, I'm trying to get rid of this. Here, I'll put the do not disturb on. Yeah, good. She needs to be on the podcast. No, she ain't gonna be on the podcast. She don't want to do anything with that. But no. But back to what I was saying. Though, so because I heard about you having cancer. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought you were goner. I gotta be honest with you. When I saw a picture of you,
you saw the pictures of me
I
in
did.
the
I saw.
hospital,
I
you
saw
would
the
have
picture.
thought that.
I saw the picture of you. And I thought, man, my buddy's gone. And the older we get, it seems like, man, we lose a lot of people, don't we?
It's
Every single other month there's somebody.
It is about that. I mean, Facebook has become the bearer of bad news, brother.
It really is.
I mean, I can't even tell you how many friends I've lost along the way. And especially, it seems like when, I got to 50 and I knew a lot of people that are around 50. And I mean, that's just the way it is anyway. You're in the second half of your life, right, if you live to be 100, being positive about it. But a lot of people are going.
So do you believe?
I'll tell you what's not helping. And I will say this because this is a habit I had to kick, which was sleeping pills. And everybody I know takes sleeping pills. I mean, it's a freaking rat race out there, man. I can't shut my brain off naturally.
Wow.
So, I was taking sleeping pills, but I also hang out with a lot of people that are still fairly young. They like to go out and party. You go have a few drinks and pop your sleeping pill and think it's no big deal. You're playing with fire. And I quit doing that cold turkey, and just something inside told me that I would not, that's the way I was going to die.
Really?
I knew 3 or 4 people that nobody ever said why they died, but I know they were taking sleeping pills, and I know they were drinking, and then they die of natural causes at 50 in their 40s. That's just bullcrap. I had a friend on my softball team, 23-year-old guy, was taking Ambien, drank a lot of beer, just never woke up. When you hear the story of one of your friends, they just go to wake him up in the morning, he died in his sleep, that's what happened.
Wow. Well, I hope that isn't me because I don't take sleeping pills, but I do take a half. Like last night, I took a half of Xanax because I was pretty.
Same thing.
Man, I never take over half though, or I'd sleep all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that's the first one I've taken maybe in 2 weeks since I stopped hurting real bad. But now that I'm getting back to better health and stuff, of course I need to go to the gym. Back to the gym. I was in shape this time last year, man. I was looking good. I was actually walking across the bedroom naked and not being like, now I would.
Not proud of yourself?
I was walking across the bedroom.
Yeah, here's the difference when you're doing the strutting across the bedroom with your chest bowed out, or you're doing the fat walk, kind of shuffling and looking at the floor. Man, I hope nobody sees me. I'm darting around the house to make sure. I like to get up in the middle of the night and go get something out of the refrigerator.
Yeah, I do that
and I'm
too.
tippy-toeing and walking sideways, like thinking that's going to change anything. Right. I'd actually hate to see it. I don't want to look at them cameras. I could see myself walking sideways, tippy-toeing through the house like I'm a burglar.
So I was going to ask you. So what kind of cancer did you have though?
I had.
And when did you know you had it?
Well, I'll tell you. I hadn't been feeling very good. I'd been really tired. And then I got this big knot on my neck. And I had that happen before, and it wasn't anything, but I just had this big lump in my neck. And my brother is a doctor, and I just happened to be with him. And I said, "Hey, Eric, I got this lump in my neck, man. It's kind of bothering me." He goes, "You need to go have that checked out like yesterday." I was like, "Well, damn, that's kind of scary." So I went. Sure as shit, man. I had cancer, and I had stage 4 cancer. It had already spread, like I said, a whole bunch of lymph nodes. And even worse is that wasn't the primary tumor. That your lymph nodes are just like sentinels, The tumor was in my tonsil. And I couldn't see anything. I looked back there when they told me that's what was going on. But by the time I was diagnosed with the cancer, that was in, say, May. By the time I had the surgery, it was like the first week in July. And I looked back there, and I had a damn something the size of a golf ball. It had grown from being not something you could see to the size of a golf ball in like a month and a half. It grew that fast and was stage 4.
Oh, wow.
And it spread through the lymph nodes. Now, the journey's not over because now I have this stupid thing on my face that was just, I thought it was just one of those little things you get frozen off. Well, that turned into be cancer, but it wasn't a melanoma. It was a carcinoma.
What's that?
That's the melanoma is skin cancer.
Right.
Which is, if it's in your face, it's always skin cancer. But this wasn't. It was just like a very small tumor. So they took that out, but it didn't have anywhere to drain because it didn't have any lymph nodes. So they would have been able to see if it spread by looking lymph node to lymph node, tracking it down. But I don't have any lymph nodes over there, so who knows? Now it's just either they got it all, but if there was any little bit, it's just floating around somewhere waiting to set up shop. So I just go get checked every 3 months, get scans every 6 months.
We're glad to have you. We're glad to have you still here. It is pretty scary. It is pretty scary, though. It's pretty scary because, I mean, you know how I've had my scares lately, but of course I'm fine. But and hopefully there won't be any more of that going on. Hopefully not.
You know what? I'm not scared for myself. I know where I'm going, but I'm just scared for my family.
Man, that's me. I told Tiffany, I'm like, I'm not scared of dying. I'm scared of being without her, though.
Yeah.
I mean, and that sounds like a cheesy movie, but it's not. It's like it's just being without. People have their disagreements, but when you find that one that's your definitely your soul, like I don't mind dying. I just don't want to be without her. You know
what? Being a Christian's a tricky thing because the teachings of Christianity tell you that you should love God first, love your family second. That's hard for me. To me, those things are kind of all the same. Like I give all the love I have.
Right.
Like when I was sick with cancer, I was still out there in the heat volunteering 30 hours a week doing landscaping and pulling weeds and doing stuff just because I wanted to thank God that he hadn't taken me.
Right.
I wanted to give back. So I gave all I could to him and I'd give all I can to my family too. So I'm not into numbering my priorities up there.
Right. Well, I wasn't saying what I said to say like I'm ready because I'm certainly I love my kids. I can't wait to hold my grandkids one of these days. I mean, my 30-year-old son needs to get his ass in gear and give me a grandkid.
Exactly.
But
they need to stop being so selfish.
Right. Well,
start doing it, man.
It's time to multiply.
Give possum puppies.
No, but now seriously though, being without my kid, but being without Tiffany was what I would miss her too bad.
Yeah.
But that's just me, But God is God, and you got to love God to I think to love people. I mean, I do. So many people don't believe that, and that's fine. If you don't want to believe that, if you don't want to watch my podcast,
listen,
you can kiss my ass. I don't give a shit.
There's love, there's people that love, and there's people that hate, and then there's people that are just trying to live their life, And I respect everybody equally, even the people that hate. I've got love for them because they probably have a reason why they're like that, and it's usually not a good one.
Right.
And I've seen enough damaged artists because great artists are always damaged.
Right.
From somewhere down the line, and that's partially why I love doing what I do because I know I change people's lives for the better.
I've seen you do it. You've changed mine.
Even the artists that have ever fired me in my life, which there are, for whatever reason. I mean, you get so close that it becomes like a divorce, you fight, whatever. But I don't think there's any of them that haven't called me back after the fact and wanted to do something or sent money when I had cancer. I mean, I know there's a love there because I only work with artists that I love. Right. It has to be the music first, but then if I can't really form a familial bond with an artist, then I just can't I can't put my all into it, and I have to move on. And I've moved on from plenty of artists just because my heart wasn't in it, and I wanted them to work with somebody whose heart was in it.
Right. Well, I want to tell you, you changed my life. You were the one. I tell people this all the time. I tell bands this story all the time. When you hear of this person that calls himself a producer, and you know how I am, I'm a pretty big asshole when it comes to producing. When somebody goes, I'm a producer. Really? Well, what the have you done to deserve that? Well, I'm going to tell you. A
self-proclaimed producer.
Yeah. Well, my story is I when Full Devil Jacket, when you heard that, you said this kid's a producer. I want to thank you for that because that helped my life a lot. And it's like I think that I was a little young to be a producer, but I remember the conversations me and you had because of this. We were in the studio over here, right here at Berry Hill. And Josh Brown took off in my truck and was gone for like a week.
Those are some crazy times, man.
Oh my God!
I'll tell you the other thing that happens with young producers that sucks is when the deal that we did with Full Devil Jacket was like $1.2 million. Right. $500,000 publishing 2 records. That's another $1 million. And that's usually the beginning of the end, too. You give a bunch of young people with very little direction and some of them with drug habits and stuff. You give them a bunch of money in it. That's probably not going to end well. I've figured out. But
no,
you take it to a label that's got that much invested. The last thing they want is Malcolm Springer from freaking wherever out in the boonies, producing the buddy just because he's buddies with the band, because that's probably what it seemed like. Well, but I knew what it take to make a record because that record stands up today with any record, first of all. And second of all, the programming and stuff was a novel concept for a rock band at the time, which then was copied by bands like Korn and all these other bands. That Full Devil Jacket record had very similar elements to a Nine Inch Nails record.
It did.
And and that was amazing. And that came from, like I said, what on the outside looked like a country bumpkin and his buddies, Beverly Hillbillies, making a record. But that thing was genius.
Thank you.
So
it was
nobody bestowed on you the title of producer, but you earned it with a marvelous record. I still listen to that record. Fast Black's still one of my favorite songs. Want to Be Martyr. I do not listen to many old records that I made, especially that are 20 years ago. But that record, like I said, Godsmack, all those bands to me were derivative of that record.
That's what a lot of people told me, and try to walk about it humble, but and I think that maybe
that's probably your biggest problem in life. You've been humble because you know what? Anybody else that would have made that record would have put up their own billboard in Times Square with the picture of that record up there because, it deserved it. But you have always been humble. And, the other problem, which is something I want to help you with, and I feel like I've tried lately, is to see you stop giving people the shirt off your back all the time. Man, anybody can walk in here and be talented, and if you think they're super talented, you're making a record no matter what the circumstances. If they don't have money, I've had artists that came up here, they didn't have money, they didn't have a home. The next thing you know, they're living in the studio making hit records. And that wouldn't be possible if there weren't people like you, because I can promise you this much, nobody in LA is doing that.
Right.
Nobody anywhere is doing that.
Well, the joke around the music business used to be buy Malcolm a pack of cigarettes and he'll make a record for you. And it kind of hurt my feelings when I heard that. But Steve-O Robertson's like, it's kind of stop. You got to stop making records for a pack of cigarettes.
It's true though.
Well, I love making records.
It's not that stupid, but
it's not that extreme. But
that is a pretty good analogy. Whoever said that knew you well. I'll tell you that, right?
But I love making records more than anything, and so there's been times where Jackson has had to deal with me this past couple months because I've been hurting so bad. And it's like I don't enjoy the editing. I don't.
Nobody does.
The busy work like that.
That's like doing QuickBooks.
It is. It's like, but there is a certain thing about, I came in yesterday and doing a vocal comp on Josie Scott, and there's still that freaking, when you get it done and you listen to it, you go, yeah.
Well, I can tell you from listening to you doing that today, there's such a, people don't understand what stuff sounds like when it gets sung into the microphone,
right?
And what comes out the other end of that big box over there. Because I'm telling you, man, it goes from sounding one way to another. And that's not to knock the person that sang it.
Right.
That's just saying that there aren't any people, period. The human person just does not, or alien, whatever they are, they don't sing the way you hear it.
Right.
And even when they sing on stage, they're not singing the way you hear it. I mean, there's monitors and there's effects. And, dude, look at a lead singer these days. They got a vocal thing, board as big as the guitar player does with all kinds of sounds on it. I mean, I was
gotten out of control.
I was actually listening to perfect example. I was listening online. There was a live version of Peter Murphy from Bauhaus singing Warm Leatherette by The Normal with Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. Whole combination there. But I was watching it, and they were doing it live, but Peter Murphy had his effects, and he was doing stuff to his own voice.
Right.
And it was amazing to watch. I never knew you could do something to somebody's voice with all of those effects, but it's a case in point. If you want to see how that works, go on the internet and look up The Normal Warm Leatherette live with Peter Murphy and Trent Reznor, and you'll see it in action. So
Trent Reznor, what is that guy doing now? Where's he at?
He's touring, baby.
Is he really?
Yeah, I just saw him a couple of weeks ago, and
maybe
it wasn't a couple of weeks ago. It was in Jacksonville. See, guys like that now, they might play a couple things, and they occasionally do full on tours. But if you want to see your heroes, you got to go to these big festivals. That's not the most fun way to see a show. I'm not necessarily used to seeing a field in the infield of the Daytona 500, but within 2 hours, I saw Smashing Pumpkins, Jane's Addiction, and Nine Inch Nails. Literally. And I saw a bunch of other bands, too. Like, In This Moment is probably the best live band I've seen in years. I mean, that is a stage show like no other stage show.
In This Moment.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Man, I guess.
And you know what? There were when Nine Inch Nails was getting ready to play,
right,
or it might have been Kiss, one of the two, but they both were playing that event. The people watching In This Moment, they weren't in any hurry to go over there and watch the other bands. They were still kind of just milling around the In This Moment stage, just.
They're that good. They're that good, huh?
Yeah, they're that good. They're more theatrical than any of those other bands as far as their stage show.
How old is that band? Has that been around a while?
Maybe 10 years. But it's a female-fronted thing, and she's just insane.
A badass, huh?
Yeah, she's a badass and insane. It's really cool.
Really?
She's up there in wedding dresses and got 10 other girls dancing around her in red wedding dresses. I mean, it's
no
wild.
way.
Yeah.
I gotta check this out.
Yeah, it's a super cool, like sacrilegious, crazy thing, but it's
is it
really
really
cool to watch.
I'm gonna tell you, it's funny because speaking of Scott Stapp, I saw him live not long ago. It was about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it still had that vibe. That vibe. It was not quite wholesome, but he was he fucking slayed it, man. I mean, he really did good.
He's an amazing performer.
He really is, man. I never saw Creed live, but when I saw him live, I was just like, it blew me away.
Well, too bad you didn't see the old Creed days, because we put lots of money into production and special effects and stuff back then. It was like going to see a clean version of a Rob Zombie show or something. We had great shows. Stapp's a great performer. You know, and people make fun of him for this or that, but you have to have some self-assuredness when you go out there on a stage by yourself. And the shit he's been through and the ridicule he's put up with, and that man will walk out onto a stage in front of a lot of people, and he gives it all to them, and you can love it or hate it or just...
Man, it blew me away. I got to be honest with you. I was just like, wow. Yeah. I walked up, and when I went back, it's been so many years since I've seen him. And last time I'd seen him, we were over at Pops' house, I think. Yeah,
probably.
We were having a party, and I wasn't in the best of shape. Remember, I was with Tracy girl at the time. Remember Tracy? And I had my head in a trash can, and I looked like I was half dead. And I think everybody thought I was dying because we had been out with Kid Rock or somebody.
Yeah, I've been out with Kid Rock a couple times, and you're not your head will end up in a trash can or a toilet.
And when he saw me, he actually teared up, and my son was with my oldest son, and he said, "Daddy, I didn't realize you really do know those people." He's like, oh my God, he's like, sobriety has done you a lot of good. He goes, my God, last time I saw you look like you were dead. He goes, I didn't even know you were still alive.
Mm-hmm. And I've got the pictures to prove it of all these people. I've got pictures of partying with Kid Rock and Stapp. The same night, me and Kid Rock and Stapp went out together. I remember one night, me and who might have been with us that night was John Rocker, the guy. He was a pitcher for the Mets or something. He got in trouble for being a racist. It was a big story, but I mean, we encountered some crazy people. We encountered some crazy stuff. I mean, one night I was sitting at dinner with a friend and phone calls, and they're like, Hanson, we don't know what to do. We got a situation. I'm like, what's going on, man? They said, there's the damn Brinks truck that's backed up to the backstage, and they say they've got a gift inside for Scott Stapp. But they won't give it to anybody but you or Scott Stapp. So I need you to authorize it. And I said, listen, I'm not opening that thing. What do you think could be in there? It could be full of tigers for all I know, or anthrax. We got people that love us and hate us. Just like the Rolling Stones cover, love us, hate us, but you can't deny us. And that was the case, but I didn't know what was in there. Of course, it could have been $10 something or King Tut's tomb or who knows what could have been in there, but I wasn't taking any chances on my watch. If somebody actually had it, they put it out in the middle of a field or something, and I'll get me one of them armored cars and go inspect it first, but that shit ain't happening.
What was it?
Could you imagine?
A Brinks truck?
A Brinks truck, yeah.
What's a Brinks truck?
With armed guards in a Brinks truck with machine guns.
Oh, shit.
It could have been full of money, too. I could have really fucked up. I don't know, but... But listen, that's one of them things. What are you going to do? It could have been full of damn... vipers and serpents, or anthrax, or money, or hookers. Who knows what was in that thing?
Like one of those armored guard trucks.
Yeah. That's just like somebody comes up to you with a box with a hole in it and says, stick your hand in there. Well, what are you going to do?
Not gonna stick
I know what you're going to do. You're going to say, hell no, I ain't sticking my hand in there. And then there's always some stupid drunk guy that says, I'll do it. Then next thing you got a 4-fingered friend following you around everywhere.
So how do you feel the music business has changed? I mean, it's like completely different, isn't it?
No, it's easy to explain. So the record companies made a ton of money off selling records. They did a good job of that. Not very good at accounting for it, but so then they decided, shit, we've sold all these things we're going to sell. Let's sell them on cassettes so people can listen to it in their car. That was a pretty good idea. Well, but then they were like, well, let's sell it on a CD so it sounds better in the car. So they did that. Well, they ran out of that shit too. There's something else coming. I don't know what it is. Maybe it'll just be music on the chip in your head. But, it's definitely a problem. And I'll tell you why, because all of the music companies are making exponential profits. Like nobody's ever seen. I mean, they're like doubling their revenue from 10 years ago. This streaming thing, and I always wonder, how could anybody on
can it be making
Spotify sell enough advertising to have to pay to use all this music for streaming? I mean, I know it's completely devalued music to the point where you can listen to it for 0.01 cents or something.
Right.
But still, they're paying the labels billions of dollars every year. So the labels are getting billions of dollars. They're not signing any new bands. We all know that. So that's killing the producers, and it's killing everybody. I mean, how do you think a manager makes money? If you don't have a band that does well on tour, you don't make any money. Nobody knows that, but it's true. Managers don't make any money. Producers don't make any money. Right. Labels all fired their A&R guys. I know multiple A&R guys. For some reason, they all seem to have become real estate agents. But, you know, I know a couple that are in the wine business. But there's so many people that we know just from 20 years ago. If I asked you how many people you know that are still in the music business from 20 years ago, you might be able to name 5. And that's, I mean, I had 100 good friends. Now there might be 5, and those 5 are like the CEOs now.
Right.
But you know what? The truth of it is, CEOs make $20 million a year. And then they have a staff of, you know, young 20-somethings that, you know, go through YouTube and TikTok and just say, hey, boss, check this out on TikTok. Because the boss ain't going to watch TikTok or YouTube or go on Spotify or anything else. So, you know, but I will tell you, because it's such a big business, the bosses make those decisions now. There's no longer a bunch of A&R guys out just signing bands. I can promise you that, because I've been through that multiple times.
Right.
And it was headed that way, you know, late 80s. It started turning that way, and it just got worse and worse. But something did have to change. I mean, honestly, even for me, we were selling Creed records in 2003, 2002. You had to pay $26 at Walmart for a Creed CD. Right. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you know what? You got to play it a gazillion times.
Well, what's just crazy to me is the whole streaming thing. Because remember,
they're duplicating files. And they're not even giving you the file. You're just listening to someone else play a file.
Right.
There's no cost involved. I mean, the cost involved is ultimately anything new they pay to record, but right now they're just taking everything they ever paid for and just streaming that now, and that's just generating the money, because people that used to play their, you know, Barbra Streisand record, they don't really have the means to do that now, so they just stream it. It's just easier for everybody, and I get you're paying for convenience. Because you have to buy an iPhone or something, but it has changed a lot. I don't know if it's changed for the better. It's simpler. It's more convenient.
But how does the artist make?
But the artists are getting killed. If you're not a touring artist, and that's what takes the life out of you. I mean, you can't go out and tour forever. I mean, Sevendust is doing it, but man, it's even beating them down. I'll tell you that. I know that for a fact.
Are they selling any CDs at the shows, you think?
No. What's a CD?
I mean,
people don't have anywhere to play a CD. Cars
true.
don't even have CD players in them now.
That's true.
And pretty soon, they ain't going to need a driver either. So what do you need a CD for? It's going to have to be on your little personal device. You ever tried to put a CD into an Apple iPhone? Don't work.
It don't work. So, hey, so let's take a minute. Let's take a break for a second, because I got to pee like I'm out here.
Yeah, I could pee too.
And then we'll come back, and we're going to talk about aliens this time.
Hey, man, I'm down.
All right.
I got opinions, my friend. I got opinions. And I got time, too.
The legendary Jeff Hanson. Here we are back again. Some good barbecue.
Oh my God, that was so good.
Man, I do pretty good on barbecue, don't I? I like smoking.
You do great. I like that.
Smoking
Man.
the butts.
I was told just the other day that it's not good barbecue unless it's done out of one of those 55-gallon drums.
That's basically what I got out there.
I know, that's what you got.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a smoker. I love smoking the barbecue and stuff. I love people. Man, on my birthday, I had a big old party out here. We have some pretty big parties. I mean, we do. I mean, it's pretty.
There's
fun.
nothing better than standing around with a bunch of good people drinking and eating.
There was some good folks here, and some, guys in Nappy Roots came, and of course, Scotty Austin and those guys were here. Some of the guys in Saving Naval. Some of the guys.
I like old Scotty Austin.
Boy, he's a good man. He's a damn good man.
I got him his start.
I'm hoping that Scotty can find his way because he deserves it.
What'd you think about he had something going on before. That's why I put him in Saving Abel.
Right.
Because his Trash the Brand, that record was great. And then I heard he had been doing stuff with you, which just adds to the coolness of it. So, I mean, yeah, I'm a fan of Scotty's.
Man, some of that stuff, some of the acoustic stuff, I think, man, you got to hear some stuff in here because you're going to be like...
I'd be super interested to hear Scotty doing something acoustic because he doesn't... I've never seen him that way. He doesn't come across as that, but, man, it's like Elvis. Elvis did all kinds of stuff people didn't think he would do. Man, when he started busting out... Some of those songs he had, they were just amazing. That movie was great, too.
Have you seen the movie? Mm-hmm. I saw it,
I'm a big fan of Elvis.
Me, too. Me and Tiffany went at, like, late night movie. Mm-hmm. And it was inspiring. It was super inspiring. It was sad. Mm-hmm. But speaking of aliens and Bigfoot, now this is the truth. Elvis...
Lay some truth on me.
Elvis didn't really die until a couple years ago. I mean, you do know that.
Well, if you're telling me that, I'll believe you. We've been friends for over 20 years, so if you tell me that and you're serious, I'll definitely give it some credibility.
Well, I was really fortunate to know Mr. Scotty Moore. Of course, he's passed away now. He swears up and down. He talked to him all the time. It was his best friend. And he was alive. And I said, well, we were over at Ronnie Honeycutt's place, and Honeycutt's telling us about this stuff. And Honeycutt really knows him well. I mean, he knew him really well. And he said well, what if I go to the press and tell them that Elvis is still alive? He goes, I'll go ahead. Nobody's going to believe you anyway. So every time I say it, everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. I knew there was something that happened about 15 years ago. There was somebody who walked into a studio in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, and did an Elvis cover. And the guy swore up and down at the studio and said this guy was Elvis Presley. They did the voice thing, how they do the voice thing.
Analysis.
And sure enough, it was him. It was definitely him. And that's, I mean...
Well, hey, you know what? I'm one of those people that I believe Tupac's still alive.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, some people are put through so much by being in this business. The only thing you can do is hide.
Right. Well, I know that...
Look how many people have killed themselves. You think they did that because they wanted to? Well, they had to.
Right. Well, yeah, that's a bad subject. I was mixing on the Atmos stuff. It seemed like that's all they were giving me was suicides and people who were dead. Really did bother me quite a bit, But mixing the Nirvana stuff over, me working on that stuff, it changed my mind about the band. It did, because I never have been a huge Nirvana fan, and I hate to say that, but I just never was like, oh God, I love Nirvana. But to hear him talk to his band and how Kurt Cobain was most selfless person I've ever heard in my life. He was more concerned about everybody in the room besides himself. And it made me go...
See, you're one of the few people on the planet that would have the opportunity to know that.
It was an amazing... And I'll let you listen to some of them. I'm not supposed to do that, but I don't care. It was my podcast. I can say what I want to. But I'm serious.
There you go.
But to hear him talk to his band, communicate with the control room, I mean, he really was just a good guy, you know. And people, let's go back to what we were saying about God and all that stuff. People say, I'm not saying that Nirvana, okay, let me put it this way. The miracle of the Moses part in the Red Sea. People don't understand. That's happened in this lifetime. And Nirvana was the Red Sea. I mean, it was a miracle. It was a band that was okay, that stood for something. That's it. That gave you, that made you want to rebel, made you want to act stupid. But I'm saying maybe not act stupid. That's the best one thing to say. It made you want to rebel against your parents. You know, that's out of tune and out of time. It makes no sense, and that's why I love it. And
I get it.
I honestly think that's a form of, I think God put his hand over the earth because the man had such a good heart that he went, you know, I'm going to bless this man because he's going to have it rough. And he did have it rough. I mean, for a guy who was a rock star, he had it rough, you know, and he always picked the wrong person to hang out with and the wrong people to hang with and the wrong people to get involved with. And it seems like to me anyway, but just looking at his life, I think he had some of his band was probably good guys. I don't know Dave Grohl at all. Do you know Dave Grohl?
No.
I wonder about that. But anyway, speaking of, let's talk about alien stuff.
All right.
You
Calm down.
So I have to ask you, have you been watching the Skinwalker Ranch thing?
I have not, but I have watched other incarnations of things that happen there.
Jeff, it's unreal.
I can't even remember what the show was that addressed all that before the show.
Right. Well, you know, the guy that's head of the thing out there is Travis Taylor. Do you know who that is? The guy. I would probably say he's probably one of the smartest humans on the planet. He's doing the UAP investigation we found out for the United States government, has been for a long time. But you should see this last episode, Jeff. I'm serious. So here they are. You got these lasers pointing up at this one spot, where this anomaly is, or where they say anomaly is. And it's pointing there. And these all meet at this point, right? And they're firing these freaking rockets up in it, this big. And they fire this rocket, and the thing just deflects and goes freaking like it hits something. And
there is absolutely no doubt, and if you disagree, you're ignorant, that there's other things going on at play here.
Right.
I mean, not the least of which, half of the matter in the universe is unaccounted for.
Right.
Dark matter is just dark matter because it's matter that super smart people know, and math shows it's there, but we can't detect it. Therefore, there's something going on. And all the stuff with the different aliens, my thing about that is 90% of it's...
You think so?
Well, of all the things going on out there, some people are just making a big living off of it. Like people that call themselves, UFO professors and things like that are just actually run magazines. But there are a lot of things that have happened that you can't really explain. Listen, you can't recreate these things out in the Inca lines, all those things, and the Chariots of the Gods. It was written by Eric von Daniken in the 70s. I mean, there's physical evidence of batteries, evidence of batteries that have been discovered. There's all kinds of lines and marks. I've actually seen cave drawings that have been carbon dated that are pictures of spaceships, people with bubbles around their heads, sitting in chariots that have fire coming out of the bottom of it. You can't make that stuff up. People made those things
They saw
before
something.
there was such thing. And art imitates life, or vice versa. But still, whatever was there, they were inspired to write that and show that and make them worship
Right.
what's going on in the sky.
Well, my question is, I guess, as two fellows that believe in Christ and the Son of God and everything. I mean, I also looked a lot into Krishna, which I've said it on here several times, but and not trying to push that on anybody. I'm just saying, which that was thousands of years before Christ, and they didn't even know if he really existed. But now that they found the city, they know he existed. They know he was there. Has pretty much the same story as Christ, other than the fact that he was a guy who was defending his home. You know what I mean? He was defending against these people that were in these flying things, and they were shooting things at each other, and there's paintings everywhere in India. I tell you what, they had a damn good imagination.
Well, they must have, but I'm telling you, they were inspired by something.
Yeah, if they didn't see something, that. But anyway, my whole point was, do you think like me, I have a problem with this, and I guess one of the reasons why it inspired this whole podcast thing was the problem I have is you humans, and I say you humans, I don't know if you're quite human all the way or not, but I know I'm not. There's no way I could be a part of the
I'm a universe. I'll explain later.
But no, like, look. So, do you realize that there's two things the humans come up with, and this is what kills me. Okay, so either number one, we came from apes and we evolved eventually into these humans. Man, I'm sorry, but you know what? We could go outside and we could do our arms like this. To the day we die, and then our kids do their arms like this. Now to the day they die, and their arms, their kids can do this. And guess what? They're just going to wind up with sore arms or big muscular shoulders. They're not going to take off flying.
You're right.
Okay, well, that means that I'm not saying evolution is partially true in the fact that, girls get hotter. Maybe they maybe they have better makeup. I don't know.
Every creature evolves, but that does not explain how we all got here.
Right, and it just okay. So we come from apes.
And listen, we didn't get set down here and you wearing an Adidas cap. It didn't happen like that either.
Right.
It's far more complex than anybody probably knows. I mean, you use 15% of your brain for a reason, because the other 85% would blow your mind, which is why people like Einstein killed themselves. Right. They got so damn smart, they were like, man, I'm checking out. I don't want to figure out the
I didn't
rest.
know Einstein committed suicide.
A lot of people committed suicide. A lot of geniuses committed suicide, because once you get to a certain point, it's hard to determine whether you're just a lot smarter, whether you're crazy or
right.
The end's coming. Who knows? But
the flip side of the coin is it's either we came from apes or we appeared in a garden. Okay, now look, I'm not saying that God can't have something to do with the physical world, the spiritual world can, because he absolutely can. But that tells me that we were probably created somewhere else on some other planet and dropped off here. Because the only reason, why would we need suntan lotion and sunglasses and all these things that why would we even be bothered by mosquitoes or flies or anything if we evolved?
There's a few things about that, Malcolm. For one is, look at the state of affairs when the Bible was written and how the Bible was written. A whole bunch of books were written, and they had their own little biblical congress and decided which books were the Bible. It wasn't like, oh, we found this Bible and it's word for word exactly, that's all the word of God. That's the way we explain it, and that's the way some people understand it. But those guys, it was very subjective. Somebody didn't like Geraldo, so the book of Geraldo got left out.
Right.
There's reasons for all that. The Bible in biblical times were that was the way they chose to explain things then for men of that time to be able to understand it and live a certain way. And maybe somebody planned that. Maybe they didn't. I'm not an expert because I wasn't there, but I do know this. There's people that say that this is all this one hologram. This is all one computer program. There's multiple universes. There's lots of things. But the facts is there's lots of dark matter that's unaccounted for. So there's things out there that we know are there, but we can't see them. And there's some evidence that there's actually potential multiple universes. What if I'm a universe? What if you're a universe? What if you're traveling the universe and you get to the end of the universe and you get to the end of it and you pop your head outside and you're just a pimple on Malcolm's ass? I mean, who knows?
Right.
And there's another universe. You just don't know. I mean, it's pretty complex. I just know that we're far too stupid to understand it.
Yeah, and that's what intrigues me about people who don't care. I mean, we're deep thinkers. I believe that.
I think we should be deep thinkers.
But I'm saying there's a lot of people who aren't, and a lot of people who I don't really care. What good's it going to do me to know where I came from or where we came from? Who cares?
I'll tell you a fantastic show I just watched. It's in French subtitles, but it's called Missions with an S on the end. And the pretext of that series was that Mars developed before Earth did, and the people on Mars destroyed their planet, like Earthlings probably will, and they actually colonized Earth.
I can see that.
And it was very interesting where they went with the story, but there was a creator, and he manifested himself on Mars and showed them that they needed to leave. So they did. And Earth was Mars's second chance. Like, we're second generation Martians here. Now, that has just as good chances happening as some of the other stories that we hear. So nobody should be a doubter. I'll tell you that.
So have you seen some of the things they found on Mars? Have you seen the Mars rover stuff?
I have, but, I've also seen the evidence of water on Mars. I mean, there's a lot of things about Mars that we may or may not know because we only know what NASA has chosen to tell us. And that all goes through its own little filtering process in our government.
Well, I know that I think it was which one was it, Jackson? That the Mars was it? Which one was it that could tweet its own stuff? And they were tweeting. He was, the rover itself can just throw stuff up to YouTube or Twitter. Mm-hmm. And boy, they stopped that shit real quick, quick.
Bad.
All of a sudden, they went, we're not doing that. And it was just kind of. Because I'm one of those guys that's keeping up with that shit because I'm sitting here in the studio and I'm trying to make it sound good my whole entire life. I'm in between four walls, and the only thing that's on my mind is, hey, am I going to ever get a day off, or what's going on with Mars? Am I ever going to get a day off? Is Tiffany going to come down here and see me? Am I going to see my kids again? Am I ever going to make these people happy? But anyway, but which one was it, Jackson?
Perseverance.
Yeah. Wow. That's a solar eclipse? That's badass, man. Look at this shit. So that's
amazing.
That's the sun. Now we can use that on the podcast, can't we? Okay. We'll make sure we can cut to that. That's crazy. So what is that going in front of the sun there?
Well, it's not a sphere. We know that.
It's a comet. My mic's not working. It's a comet.
It's a comet? Holy cow. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, I'm about to get off on the wrong thing here, but that's crazy. I mean, I've seen some pictures of some stuff, Jim, that looks pretty freaking fishy. I mean, it looks really fishy. Like it looks to me like ruins. And then one NASA scientist said that it's nothing but nuclear traces there. They could only be formed from a nuclear bomb. And 2 is in the northern hemispheres and 1's in the southern hemisphere. And it just basically, whatever happened there was a genocide. They just mopped up the whole planet once. And what we're seeing is ruins. We're not seeing, then it was a lot sooner than, 50 billion years ago back when, it wasn't. I mean, I'm talking like this.
I said, that's similar to what that movie was saying. And, a lot of times life imitates art, as art also imitates life. It goes both ways, but there's definitely some weirdness out there, man. And if you want some good explanations, I guess you're going to have to watch some French subtitled TV.
What's it called? It's called Missions?
Missions.
Wow, okay.
Amazing show.
Is it a series?
Yeah, it's so far there's 21 episodes and there's a 3rd season coming. But I think it's being shown on BBC right now, but not BBC America. Missions.
Mm-hmm. Is it a story or is it just a documentary thing?
No, it's a story.
Really? Okay. All right. So let me ask you: do you think that these things that the military's seen? Do you think they're the watchers that's here from that God left here to watch over us, or do you think that they're? What do you think it is? I'm just curious because I know my theory, and mine sometimes adds up to me, and sometimes don't. The reason why. Here's my problem. This is my only problem. What do these guys do during the day? Do they hang out under the ocean and shoot pool? I mean, do they hang out?
They might be under the ocean all the time,
but they can't be just. I mean, do they have families? Do they go on vacation? Or is this like, hey, let's go to Earth on Saturday. Let's go to Earth on Saturday. Let's mess with the military. What do you think? Let's do it, dude. Let's do it. You think that's happening? I mean, I'm serious.
So did you watch Fringe?
No.
Fringe deals with all of these things. The television show. It was on for 5 or 6 years.
Fringe.
It's got watchers. It's got the whole thing. Everything that's ever really been seriously bantered about, they deal with in Fringe.
Really? Mm-hmm. Fringe. Then what they do with their lives while they're hanging out?
There was a little bit of that. Not much. They didn't get too deep into it, but there was a little bit.
I mean, I'm just wondering, do they play music? Are they down there rocking AC/DC?
Well, from the TV show, they just lived a very odd life in very nondescript apartments, and there were 2 or 3 of them. And
they lived amongst us.
They just sat there. They lived amongst us, yeah.
Wow. Now, that's something to think about. I mean, I've always considered myself not human because I just can't go with some of the things you guys have done. But now, I'm not saying that I don't love humanity, but boy, humans, man. I mean,
we do some stupid things.
You were outside. You said you could pick a hand of rocks up and throw, and you could hit a bunch of them, and we won't talk bad about people who we're talking about. I'm just saying, there's not.
No, it is definitely true that if there's a group of people out there and you throw a handful of rocks, you are going to hit quite a few stupid people. In my life, I found that to be true.
And I don't understand though, like the way some people add up their logical, how they can just ignore like what's going on, like some of the problems I was telling you I was having, having out some things. How they don't realize, hey man, this isn't the right thing to do.
It is some of the things that are very hard to believe. And part of it comes from having a 2-party system. So there's only one option or the other. And and that one option has to be opposition to the other option. So that's why our problem is that we don't have one person that everybody respects that manages all people, all things, like a great oracle. You know, in life, that's the only way anything's ever been successful. Like, you think Tesla's got a bunch of people that they pick a side of the issue and this and that? No, you just ask Elon and he'll tell you. And, you know, he may be wrong occasionally, but for the most part, he's not.
Well, going back to the alien thing and Elon, all that. So here's my thing, too.
And Elon would tell you you were crazy if you just dismissed the whole alien thing.
Yeah, of course. But what's crazy is, though, okay, they're here. There's flying vehicles, okay, and they're in our skies, and we know they're in our. They're whether they could cause us harm if they really want to. But here's the thing, though. Like, do they have like their own government that's funding this? Is there someone that's funding? Some alien funding the project, or do they build it themselves? Do they? I know that for a fact that there's definitely extraterrestrial life. There's no doubt about that. If you do think that there's not,
they've already found microbes on Mars.
But I mean,
there is life.
It's
period.
not microbes. It's like you see the freaking the Apollo. Apollo. When we landed on the moon, you see moon pigeons. We know that there's not moon pigeons. We know there's pigeons. Pigeons don't exist on the moon. So it's something flying across there. Somebody's over there. And there's somebody living on the fucking moon. I mean, there's somebody living in the moon. I mean, or on the moon or whatever. There's somebody there. There's somebody there right now. It ain't us, but who knows? It might be us. Well,
that's the trick, isn't it? It might be us.
Well, but I mean, when Apollo went up there, though, when the Apollo missions went up there, we wasn't doing it then. But now, how in the world could you sit there and how could you explain that? And how could you explain Neil Armstrong going, "Hey, they're on the ridge over here. They're watching us." Now that those tapes got released, well, the skeptics go, "Well, hell, that's not Neil Armstrong. That's so and so with their tater hoe up there picking whatever." It's like the most stupidest shit. Now, this reality is it something and there's somebody and there's something. It's like, in the question, I love hearing like people like you talk about your views on it, because I just, and I think other people like hearing that, because it's like the questions I have are probably a lot deeper than probably I should go. But is the aliens so they're not funded by a government agency? They got their own vehicle. Did they buy the vehicle at a local store on their planet?
Well, they build it here. You know what? You know where I go with all this, Malcolm, in the end, is I'm interested. I believe what I believe. I believe lots of different things are possible. My issue is that we live in a time and a place where nobody tells the truth. Our own government doesn't trust their own citizens who elected these idiots. They don't trust us enough with the truth of what's actually going on in our own world. And the governments all agree to this. They all have their own secret agendas that they're not going to tell us stupid people. Granted, I'm one of the people that says a lot of people are stupid. But it's just sad that, nobody trusts us with the truth.
I missed you, Jeff.
They'll subject us to rap music on the radio all day long, but they won't tell us what the hell is going on in space.
I don't know. I don't think they're as clueless as they act like they are. There's Black Ops programs, and what I want to know is, who are these people in the Black Ops programs? That's what I'm saying. It's like there's so many questions. Like, are we walking by them down 2nd Avenue on Saturday night? Are they drunk coming out of the building? Hey, I'm in the Black Ops program, man. We can hang out with aliens all day long. Hell yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Is like, I'm definitely not making fun of country people. I'm not. I guess I am, but I'm country, so I can do that.
Yep, I guess so.
I'm just saying, it's like there's so many questions, and like this UAP thing. Okay, all of a sudden we call them UAPs. Okay, is there a reason why we call them?
Because Hillary Clinton decided that.
Oh, man. Better watch talking about her. You might come up missing tomorrow, man.
She's a genius.
Look, we support no political party on here. What we are doing is just saying common sense. Common sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Common sense is like just. I've always said, I think they should divide the country up. Left going to the left, right's going to right. And those people got common sense, keep us in the middle, man, and I'll be president.
Hey, I'll go for it. I'm down with that. At least you'd tell me the truth.
Yeah, it may not be what you want to hear, but it's like, all I know is that, hey, I just want to know who those fuckers are in those little
you never
tic-tac
watched the
vehicles.
X-Files either?
Oh, X-Files is my favorite, one of my favorite things.
Well, they would have you think that there's a star chamber of government officials that run the world from a little room somewhere.
Which was Majestic 12, is that what they're calling them?
I don't know what they're called, but yeah, something to that effect. They sit around and drink liquor and watch computer screens.
Decide who's going to get abducted next.
Yeah, decide who's going to get abducted and what they're going to do with them, and when's it gone too far and what we're going to do about it and those sorts of things.
Well, have you seen Project Blue Book, the series?
Yes.
Gosh, those two chicks were hot, wasn't they? Even my old lady
Listen,
was like,
I watch
they're hot.
all those shows. That's why I'm an unofficial expert on all of this. I've sifted through all the data available to me.
Well, I'm trying to just make sure, like, there's some things, that's kind of weird. Is the one-eyed cyclops real? Shit like that. There's all kinds of things.
You probably should spend less time searching for Yetis and watching TV, because you can also search for Yetis watching TV.
I went, to hunt Bigfoot.
I heard you did.
And I want to go back up there. What I want to do is, I got an idea for it. I'm not going to give it away on the podcast, but I got an idea for a show. And it's funny because I told it to these folks up there, this ghost hunters thing, I think he's actually thinking about doing it. I mean,
Do they like your idea?
Yes, and when I tell you the idea, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because it's all about me being a producer and you being a manager. It's going us meeting Bigfoot and stuff, and him being a songwriter. Having a family and, introducing us and all that. And he's got a buddy that's in Vegas and, named Elvis that he's got to get. And we're going to do a song together.
Yeah, you got to be careful out in Vegas.
Well, the Yeti.
Hey, well, I got my own Yeti story.
So do you have any, oh, really? Well, let's hear it.
No, when I was 6 months old, I was in Traverse City, Michigan, where I was born, at my grandparents' house. And they had, it was interesting. It was on a slope, so the backyard was much lower than the front yard. So the room that I was in was probably 20 feet off the ground, had a window. And my crib was underneath the window. So I'm not sure how old I was. I guess I was old enough to stand, at least. I must have been. And my dad said they were in the living room. I'm in my little room off the living room. And they hear me in there making a bunch of racket, banging on the window, pointing outside. My dad's like, what are you doing? And he said I was conducting myself like there was somebody outside. I can't remember exactly how old I was. So I don't know if I could stand up or what. But he said I was making a pretty big fuss about something being outside this window. And there was no shades or anything because it was all woods in the back of this house. And so sure enough, and it was snowing outside as it was always up there. My dad goes around the back and said that there were 2 2-foot long footprints underneath my window with the toes pointed at the window. Like some humongous entity was looking in the window of my grandparents' house at me. And I was reacting to it, obviously. I always found that to be really strange. I don't know what can stand and be 20, 30 feet tall. But it sounds a little odd to me.
Well, I mean, that's probably the Wendigo, man.
No,
I mean, everybody laughs at my. I'm not a crypto guy all the way. That's for sure. I think some things are bullshit. That's for sure. But I gotta say though, the Wendigo is something I just in the past couple of years got into, and the reason why is because the cave systems and the. Have you seen that map? The cave systems versus the missing people. Pull that up there, brother. Oh, Jackson. Watch this. This will freak you out. Because all the missing kids, missing people are coming up missing near big, large cave systems. And that's disturbing. Disturbing. Really disturbing. And the Indians, they got more on the caves about the Wendigos than they do the Bigfoot, but they're the same. I don't know if it's even the same. I don't even know if it's the same. I don't even know. I know the Wendigos is a pretty big. I don't know. It's kind of hard to believe. It's like it's almost like vampires.
Let me ask you this: how in the United States of America in 2022 do we have all these unexplored caves everywhere with mysteries around them? Why don't we just take the National Guard who's sitting around flipping their thumbs? Send them down in there. Let's see what's going on.
Can you blow it up any bigger, bud? That's the missing persons versus the cave systems.
Well, that is, I'm looking at it, and if they didn't just make that up with a green and red crayon, that's pretty amazing that all of the missing persons happen to be very close in proximity to the cave system.
And it's like that, like, I don't understand. Like,
well, and the reason you don't see the as much activity in Florida is all the cave systems there are sinkholes.
Right.
So they're all full of water because the water table is low in Florida.
You don't see that many down there in Florida. Look.
Nope.
You think that'd be missing persons fucking central? Tennessee is.
Well, I'll tell you this too: people are enjoying themselves in Florida, so they have a tendency not to get quite as lost. They just go to Disney World.
Well, I think people down in Florida just don't give a shit about kidnapping somebody because they're having too much fun, and there's too many women to hang out with down there.
And there's no caves to hide them in.
There's no caves.
There are caves in Mariana, Florida. Do you see one? I think I see it there on the map. There's a pretty nice cave in Mariana full of stalactites and stalagmites.
You know, don't want to change the subject, but did you know, speaking of caves, did you know we have to plan a field trip. I'm not kidding. Some of those guys. One of the 7 wonders of the world is only an hour and a half north of here.
Fort Knox?
No, I'm serious. Mammoth Cave. Mammoth Cave runs all the way to New Orleans from up here.
That's crazy.
And they don't know how it was formed. They don't know how it was built. But someone told me they found, man, I don't want to say it on here because people will be like, "Oh, didn't find that ministry." Maybe I should say it just to get people to put a comment. But that they had found Egyptian stuff in there. And I think that when the pyramids were getting built by the Nephilim or whatever, the angels were flying back and forth between here and there. I really do. I believe that something happened that was really weird because something that just seems so out of this world. But if you think about it, we think about things that are out of this world. Would you have ever guessed, though, that they were going to knock down the World Trade Centers? I mean, that's pretty. I know, but I'm saying, this seems like far-fetched shit, you know. Or how about this? How about we run bomber missions on Afghanistan from Tennessee? That's pretty freaking out there, man. I mean, if you think about it, back in the day when we were kids, it'd be like, no, hell no. They'd run out of fuel. No way could make it over there. There's a lot of things that we do. How about this? We carry around more power in a cell phone than we had on the first freaking Apollo mission.
Oh, for sure.
Like moon.
Times 30 at least.
Yeah. It's like, well, so did time go backwards? Man, I'll tell you what. If the Egyptians built the pyramids, I'll kiss anybody's ass right in the brown. Egyptians didn't build the pyramids; they walked up on them. There ain't no way. Anyway, I saw a big thing on those tombs down. It's not in the pyramid. Have you seen those things? Those tombs are big as this room, and they're nothing but solid freaking basalt. I mean, they're freaking so heavy, and they got them down in this freaking thing, and they're going, well, we don't know how they got them down here. They're freaking. Some of the stuff that's happened, man. Come on.
Plus, they're astrologically significant.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah, it's all a little bit, a lot of time's passed, so I'm just not sure how we're ever going to get to the bottom of some of these things.
No, we're not. And, but one of these days I'm going to get, when I can afford to get some of them guys on here from Ancient Aliens, you got to come on here too, man.
Oh, yeah, I'm coming.
Because we got to get some of those guys on here, and we got to get some of these, now that I know.
Hey, we could get Bob Lazar. He'll tell us something.
Bob Lazar.
But a lot of his stuff has been disproven, for one. And for two, he used to run a brothel in
no,
Las
he
Vegas.
did.
Swear to God.
No
He was
way.
just on Joe Rogan's show. And they asked him about that stuff. And he did. He ran a brothel. He was charged with it. There's no evidence of him ever actually getting a degree in anything or going to college. And he claimed he was a MIT trained astrophysicist
So
or
you're
whatever he
saying,
was.
you're saying Bob Lazar was a liar.
I'm saying that Bob Lazar has some interesting things to say. And they could be rooted in fact, but he has also bloviated a lot of.
Do you really think so?
Oh, I know so.
You don't think he worried?
He's admitted to. I mean, he's got a criminal record for these things.
So Bob,
But it does not mean that he didn't get hired to be a do boy at Area 51 for whatever reason, and maybe he was mopping the floor and saw something. Because that's really the extent of his explanations. He explains that he worked on this flying saucer for 6 months, but they never actually deduced anything. They didn't find out what it was made of. They didn't find anything. They couldn't find a saw to cut into it. I mean, his story is that he was there and did a lot of stuff, but there were no conclusions drawn. We'll put it that way. Now, there were conclusions drawn when the judge convicted him of running the brothel. So, if we're dealing with conclusive things, but hey, you know what? I think that those military guys that actually saw the tic-tac, I don't think that guy is beyond reproach. He seemed pretty legit. Lifetime colonel.
right?
Smart guy in the Navy, no reason to lie. Probably took a bunch of for it. But Bob Lazar's made some cash, man. That guy's like he's been the world spokesman for what happened at Area 51. They've probably got little figures of him for sale.
Look, I'm still blown away from the brothel thing.
Yeah, well, that's a fact.
Look that up? Did Bob Lazar run a bluff? I gotta see this shit.
All right, well, you're going to find out.
That's great. That's awesome. So he's an alien pimp.
Yeah, they never actually mentioned who he was pimping at the brothel. Could have been Grace. There he is. I just saw his picture, so he's on the right track.
We're not here talking bad about you, Bob, but it is pretty damn funny.
Yeah, he's done some odd things.
But I mean,
hey, look, he's Lazar flaws. There's a whole thing.
Okay, so do you think that maybe the government framed him and did this to discredit him?
That's what Bob would have you believe.
What does it say? I gotta hear this shit.
And if you look at Bob, he
kind of looks like
don't
a guy.
know.
He kind of looks like a guy.
He's kind of pervy.
He owned a brothel in Reno, and it was called the Honeysuckle Ranch.
The Honeysuckle Ranch.
Back in the 80s.
Oh, back in the 80s? Well, the guy, I mean, you
This
know.
was just shortly after he was a renowned astrophysicist from MIT. Now, if you were going to discredit the guy and you were the government, that's a pretty good way to discredit the guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty good way to
Erase his college education history and just insert that he was operating a brothel in Reno, which is conveniently in the same state as Area 51. Actually, they were just working on a big sex machine there. Area 51.
Oh, jeez. That's great. I didn't have any idea. That is so damn funny. I mean, the poor guy.
Look, Bob Lazar, UFO hoaxster. That's what they're calling him now.
Oh, jeez. Did you see him on Joe Rogan?
No, I listened to it.
What did you think?
Well, Joe Rogan, he seems to be a guy that might believe anything. Oddly enough, he's a world-class interviewer and podcaster, and he knows a lot about MMA fighting, but he definitely seemed to believe everything Bob was saying.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Listen, our world is based on one thing: entertainment.
It is.
And all this is just fodder for more entertainment. So it's all good with me. We should start spreading lies.
We should start saying
Bob Lazar was officially making a super dildo in Area 51. You know?
A jet-powered super dildo.
A multi-headed, no batteries required super dildo.
So you think Bob Lazar is just a flat out bullshitter?
Either that, or you were correct about saying he's been framed.
I think he's been framed pretty bad.
I figured you would.
Man, it seems to me like Lazar had a pretty decent grip on things and pretty decent. I don't know. It just seemed like it was way too much detail. He hadn't changed the story. That's the thing. If the story had changed so much, I'd be.
Now, listen, I will say
after 20 years and somebody hasn't changed the story.
That was proven true is that he apparently did an interview in the 80s about the new element that they discovered.
Yeah, element 150.
At Area 51. And he knew about that before anybody else did. He was telling people about that before it was ever released by the government that there was an element discovered at Area 51. And how you would be discovering elements at Area 51 without it having something to do with a UFO technology is kind of beyond me. So, this is the thing. You never know what to believe.
You don't.
I guess if we could use the rest of our brain, we could probably figure it out, and then we could all kill ourselves.
Right. Well, let's don't do that.
Not yet, anyway.
I got grandbabies hopefully coming one of these days.
Puppies.
I hope so. Shit, I mean, hoping my son Sid needs to get on the ball, buddy. He needs to get on the ball. Now my son Isaac, he needs to slow down. He needs to, I don't need Riley have no kids.
My boys are perfect.
They're good boys.
Yeah, they are really good boys. They're so damn smart. That's what kills me.
Really?
I mean, I honestly think in quite a few ways my kids are smarter than I am. But they've grown up with technology. It's really weird to watch kids adapt to technology because they've been born with it.
Right.
And it just becomes natural to them. That's why they still all suck at math. All these kids do. But, when it comes to figuring out how to... My son, who's 14, turns 15 next week, has already built a hot rod computer. For Christmas, he gave my wife a list of like 100 parts and asked her to buy them all. And she's such a good mom. She literally, not knowing, she might as well have been making a freaking bomb. She went and ordered all the parts off the internet, spent $1,000, and sure as shit, within one day, he had built an entire hot rod computer.
Wow.
It was crazy. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, he's that smart. And his brother's the same. They're just.
And my son built his computer, and I just, why don't you just go buy one?
Man, I'm really happy my son can actually do something like that.
That's pretty cool.
That's like, that would be like me building a car, Right. I don't even know how to change the oil. It's crazy.
I'm not good at changing oil. Matter of fact, I hate even checking oil, but I do.
Well, listen, I'm just happy to have good kids, happy, healthy, well-adjusted kids, and their mom has everything to do with that because where am I? Up in Nashville talking about Bob Lazar's
brothels,
porno endeavors. But it's all good. All good.
Well, man,
I'm happy I got to come up here and see you, man. It's been a while.
I am too, man. I'm glad. And people don't know. I want to say this before we say goodnight here because I want to, people could have seen the heydays. Wasn't it awesome?
Man, I remember. People remind me of things that I don't remember, mainly because I'm old or I was drunk, something. But I remember there was this Nashville extravaganza they used to have 20 years ago.
Yep.
And I remember Sony had a party going on. I had this big table out front. And apparently I body slammed Big Kenny from Big and Rich right through the damn table, the damn wristbands and tickets flying everywhere. It had a lot to do with alcohol. And he was wearing his funny hats back then. But, I hadn't remembered that. And somebody who I was mentioning that to said, well, don't you remember getting in a wrestling match with Lars from Metallica at Don Hills in New York? I was like, what? I was like, that didn't happen. They said, yes, it did. And the other person there was there too. Yes, it did.
Don Hills. Something happened to me bizarre there, but I better not say it. It might hurt my girl's feelings.
You probably better.
Some really weird stuff. This chick out of nowhere. It was really weird. It just was like, I don't even know who she was. It was just really odd. And like, I'll never forget it. I never went back. I was there seeing Tidewater Grain play. Remember that band, Tidewater Grain, I produced? They were on Rough Nations. Rob Dippold.
Remember Rob Dippold?
I wonder how he's doing.
I don't know.
I wonder what he's doing.
Who knows?
Rob Dippold. I haven't even said that name in a long time.
Maybe we can bring him in and have a podcast, and we'll bring him in and say, so, how do we know you?
I know him.
We remembered your name, but we don't know who you are.
He taught me the man's secret.
Really?
Yeah, I'll have to show you the man's secret later, man.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I'd like to know about that.
Hey, listen, thank you for coming on here. We appreciate it, man.
For sure. I'll come back
really
if anything
podcast.
Eventful happens.
And if there's anything crazy we need to edit out, we will. And you know what I mean? But we just
I'm glad that's a thing.
Yeah, well,
other places they would just like turn the volume up and make a commercial out of that.
Right. But tomorrow I'm gonna meet with another sponsor tomorrow about sponsoring the show, and I'm really excited about. Man, we got some good people coming on, man. It's gonna be great, and I just really appreciate you, man.
Well, let me tell you this much: if you want sponsors, man, from what I hear, they're all out there in the Pacific Northwest. These weed companies, they got nothing to spend their money on, and a lot of people won't let them advertise. I'm sure you wouldn't care. Yeah.
Well, maybe you could hook me up there.
A couple artists have told me, hey, man, you go out there, and that's where you need to start getting your tour money from, because they just want asses in the seats and people to see their logo and know that that's a good place to get their weed.
Well, we didn't solve the alien issue, but we sure talked about some good rock and roll times, because, man, we were fortunate to live back in the day when music business was the real music business.
People were playing their instruments, fighting with them.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
I miss it. Let's bring it back.
All right, there's Sidetrack. We're good, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming so much.
Yep, for sure.